Hello everybody, I'm Colonel Todd Hoffer, the Vice Commander for the 142nd Wing. We're here on a pre-summer day, it's beautiful, and we're introducing you to our very first virtual tour of what exactly we do here in this beautiful wing. We have a couple of federal missions and a state mission. The first mission is our alert mission. The second is being part of the Air Expeditionary Force construct, in which we support the President of the United States as required and desired under Title X authority. The third is our state mission, that's to support Governor Brown and civil authorities in regards to anything that pops up in order to support the state of Oregon and the safety and health of the citizens of this beautiful state. With that being said, we're going to go talk to a few of our airmen that help support the pilots and their mission, and some airmen that help maintain our aircraft. In addition, we're going to talk to some of our Special Tactics Squadron combat controllers to see how it is that they integrate not only within the 142nd Wing, but Special Operations Command as well. With that being said, please join me and enjoy the tour. Now we're entering the operations building. This is home of the 123rd Fighter Squadron Red Hawks, where they fly the F-15 weapon system. Here I'd like to introduce you to Colonel Don Unruh. He's the commander, 142nd Operations Group, and also the soon-to-be new wing commander starting on Saturday.
Great, thanks very much. Welcome Colonel Hoffer, and welcome everybody out to watching the video online. And so I heard you say that you're walking into the operations building where we fly the F-15s, and that's exactly right. This is a place where you're going to come in and you're going to see the traditional operations desk for pilots when they get their aircrew flight equipment on. They've done their mission brief, they're ready to go out and go execute the mission. This is also where you see in the building, as you go down these hallways and the offices behind me, all the folks that work day in, day out to make this happen. Because we may have 2 or 3 or 4 pilots walking out the door, but there's hundreds of airmen that go into supporting that mission every day. And it all revolves or all centralizes right around here, where all the intelligence support, all the mission operations support, all the security, all the things that go into making F-15 flying from the operations side, the host aviation resource management, and all the folks that keep us operating day in and day out, all work in this building to put the mission together. So when the pilots go out and step to the jet, that's kind of the culmination point of a bunch of work by a bunch of great airmen here in Oregon. So welcome, and we're glad to have you. Great. Thank you, Colonel Unruh. Thanks.
Now we'd like to proceed to aircrew flight equipment, where we'll go look at some of the flying gear. Now we're entering the aircrew flight equipment area. This is where your hometown Air Force gets ready to fly F-15s just prior to stepping to an aircraft. As we continue on into their shop area, I want to introduce you to Sergeant Faraci, who's one of our lead technicians here for the shop.
All right, so what we got here is an assortment of the daily pilot gear that you'll routinely see. Right here is an OTS suit, which the pilots will wear under their flight suit, as Colonel Hofford is wearing. They'll wear this when they fly over water in case of an evacuation overseas. If they end up in the water, this will help keep them dry and warm. Right here we have a anti-G suit. This here is the trousers. They have a clasp and zipper seal on this side, and zippers over here to tighten the legs in case they need a little more blood to be kept up in the upper torso. The whole point of these is to keep blood into the upper body when the pilots are at high G maneuvers, and that helps them prevent from what we call blackout, and it helps them maintain consciousness through these high stress maneuvers. Here we have a harness which the pilots will wear over everything, and it will connect to a parachute that is in the ejection seat of the aircraft. Attached to that is a life preserver in case, once again, they bail out over water. It'll help them keep afloat with all the heavy gear attached to them. Here we have a helmet with NVGs attached for nighttime flying. It's a really cool piece of equipment, I think. One of my favorites. With these, we maintain them and clean, repair everything in our back room. And here we have the traditional helmet with the display unit and visor, which is also one of the coolest pieces of equipment that we have here. And when the pilots are flying, they pop this visor down, and it will connect to the aircraft, and it will project all the flight and instrument data onto the visor for the pilot so they can read it as they're flying without having to look down at their own instruments. So some pretty cool pieces of equipment here.
Thanks, Sergeant Faraci. You know, as a young lieutenant in the early 2000s, this shop used to be called the Life Support Shop, and the reason why is because they're in charge of making sure that these pilots stay alive. And the job in the Air Force Specialty Code that Sergeant Faraci and all of his brethren do here in order to take care of us is very, very important. This gear gets severely worn. It's got a lot of high inspection rate requirements, and it's very temperamental and expensive. So the fact that these guys are here day in and day out is critical to the success and the mission of the 142nd Wing. Thank you. So here we've got the F-15. This is our maintenance hangar that we utilize in order to work on the aircraft. We can house up to 6 aircraft in this hangar at one time. This is your all-intercept fighter that is a supersonic aircraft that can carry up to 8 missiles, 940 rounds of 20mm ammo, and protect the Northwest. As you proceed to kind of look at the airplane, you can see we've got variable speed ramps. This is an entry. It's a single person cockpit, and then as you come up front here, this is a very large nose cone. Actually, prior to the F-15 being designed as a long-range interceptor, the APG-63 radar was designed first, and then they needed an aircraft that can actually employ that radar, and that's what is in the nose of the F-15. As you proceed around here to the other side, you can see the MA-1A 20mm Gatling gun. That gun shoots 20mm bullets up to 6,000 rounds per minute. That's 100 per second. The F-15 can fly up to 2.5 Mach. To put that in perspective, this aircraft technically was designed to fly 2.5 times the speed of a .357 Magnum bullet. It was designed to be able to fly very high and very fast and see enemy aircraft a long ways away, but in turn, the results of that design at sea level and down low with these large wings and vertical stabilizers and horizontal stabs provided the ability to maneuver very, very well in that nice thick air. Accentuating that are the motors. We've got 2 motors that produce 25,000 pounds of thrust. We've got a tail hook. This is more primarily for emergencies. If we've got a hydraulic issue or a problem as we're coming into land and we need to take a cable, it's not to land on a boat, it's actually to land here on PDX or any runway that's got a cable that can be raised that we can take with the hook because of the lack of brakes and no hydraulic systems. Now I'd like to introduce you to one of our key maintainers. This is Lieutenant Kayleen Kaplan. She was prior enlisted in propulsion, and she's now one of our leading lieutenants that works there full-time and runs a 400-plus maintenance organization. Kayleen.
Yes, sir. Morning. It's wonderful to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah.
So we just wanted a little introduction to maintenance in your world and what goes on here.
Wonderful. Well, a lot goes on. We have multiple career fields all at the same time to make sure that these engines run and that these jets maintain in the sky. So we have a lot of things like avionics career fields. They work with a lot of the wiring and the radar systems in the jets, and which is most of what we need to maintain on a daily basis. We also have hydro work field for a lot of the leaks that come on with the components because it's a very hydro-powered systems. We also have electronics that work with a lot of the wiring and chasing a lot of the powered systems. We also have crew chiefs, which are really the masters of the jet. This is their baby. So they kind of run the whole thing and make sure that all of the maintenance and that it stays healthy for what it's got going on. They also launch the jets, they recover the jets, they stay with the jets. If the jets go somewhere, the crew chiefs are going with them. So they're really the masters of these aircraft. We all have multiple back shops that work on a lot of the components that come out of this jet. When it needs some maintenance done and you can pull it out of the jet and replace it real quick to get the jet back in the sky. So we have things that they can work in the back shops to turn those components back into good materials for the jets in the future. So there are just multiple things that can happen on this aircraft. Tons of career fields, we need tons of hands, tons of bodies, like you said earlier. It's a 400-plus person organization to keep these guys healthy and in the sky.
What are some of the most rewarding things being part of this team?
I think for everyone, the most rewarding thing is when the takeoff and you see those afterburners on the backside of the jet and it just screams in the air. That's everybody's victory dance, because that means we've done a good job. They're in the sky, they're getting the job done, protecting our nation and our borders, or when we need to go overseas for the same thing. That's the most exciting, thrilling thing. It like catches in your chest a little bit, especially if you're able to be out on the flight line and feel the vibrations in your chest as they're taking off.
Absolutely. It must be just feel great to be part of that team of one of our major weapon systems here, which is the F-15, protecting the homeland.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the challenges that you guys deal with on a daily basis?
Well, a lot of the challenges is that we have a lot of needs for making sure that we have multiple jets that go up on a daily basis. We also have an alert mission, so we want to make sure that we have jets ready to go to answer our nation's call if anything happens. And the jets break because they're a bit of an aging aircraft. They've been around for 30-some years. So one of our major challenges right now is a lot of the parts are at the end of their life cycle. This jet originally was a 4,000-hour jet, and it's now reaching 10,000 hours per jet in the sky. So that's a lot of wear and time. So our greatest challenge is making sure that we have the supplies, the materials, and trying to get that maintenance done in a timely fashion. So we've started plussing up our shifts, trying to get more manning so that we can really get the maintenance done in the time we need it to get done, because we can't stop flying. We just got to keep on fixing.
Great, thank you for that. You know, myself being at the latter part of my career and you more towards the beginning part of your career, I've got a relationship with a lot more retirees probably than you do. And one of the things that they commonly say that they miss about the Oregon Air Guard and the 142nd Wing is that camaraderie, that morale, that teamwork, that family that they've developed many, many years working out here. Can you describe a little bit on what that means to you and what kind of things we do in order to try and continue to encourage that?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that people may not get in a job on the outside of the military that we definitely get here is the fact that we spend a lot of time together, often on trips. So when we're out TDY, which is temporary duty, out traveling somewhere, you know, you're spending 24/7 with your buddies and you're pushing towards a greater goal, because you can see the goal is to get the aircraft in the air, and you know what you're doing it for, kind of the big picture and the mission. And so that builds that kind of family. We're all here for one team, one fight. We're trying to get together and make things happen that matter to us deeply, especially when answering, you know, our nation's call. And back home, kind of the same thing. We get more of we like to do family days. We like to do, you know, sometimes you can once a year bring your kid to work to really see what you're doing. I know the base hosts a lot of Starbase activities where we bring kids out so that they can see what we do, and a lot of that is because we have so much pride in what we're doing that we want people to know about it, and that increases the morale of what we've got around here, because we're all just so proud of the job we're doing.
Great. Last question. If there were a teenager out there in the local area watching this today and you could give them a message, what would you like to tell them?
I would say I was 17 when I joined the Air Force, and I don't regret it a single day. It gave me a purpose when I wasn't quite sure what I was doing, and I've never been a part of anything that meant so much to me. When it came to being part of a bigger group with a call, and the structure really helped me set me up for success in the future. I can also say the military paid for my education, which allowed me to commission, or if you have no interest in commissioning, it can pay for your education. The skills you get for just growing up and being a person, really, that day to day, I can't say enough good about it. That really, as a teenager, I know it helped develop me into the person that I am today. And I encourage you that even if it's not your forever, it's not a bad idea for your first 4 or 6 years.
Great. Thank you, Kayleen.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to transition to our second weapon system, which is the human weapon system at the 125th Special Tactics Squadron, and talk to some of our combat controllers and what they do. Hi there, I am in front of the newest addition to the 142nd Wing. This is the training tower for our Special Tactics Squadron. You can see right behind me, this is the climbing wall and rappel area, but also internally there's a lot of stairwells and training environment for their special operations. With that being said, we wanted to take this opportunity and answer a few of those questions that we received via social media. The first one here is from Michael Nash. He asks, how is the F-15 in instrument conditions? Such a fast and complicated jet seems like you could fall behind the aircraft in the clouds or on an approach. Well, Michael, with that being said, it is just like any other airplane. It's relative, so generally if you're going a lot faster, you're just gonna start your operations out a lot sooner. You'd be surprised, the F-15 actually can get to a pretty slow airspeed that's manageable and not as challenging as you may consider. We only find ourselves going those supersonic speeds in a tactical environment where we're trying to employ the airplane, but here in the Portland metro area, we're often going the same speed as an airliner. So in regards to the challenge of being in instrument conditions, the jet does just fine. It's an all-weather interceptor. It can handle ice, it can handle volcanic ash and clouds. We try and avoid all those areas, but the jet is pretty durable and can handle all those conditions as well. The second question here is from Kent Graham. He asks, what is the biggest change to the base and mission since 9/11? I was fortunate enough to be sitting alert and flying the F-15 prior to 9/11, and post 9/11 things did change pretty dramatically. We transitioned from the old Cold War era to a more asymmetric threat. So 9/11 basically taught us and exposed us to a threat that we need to train to in regards to areas that we haven't trained to in the past. That is going after remote piloted aircrafts, unmanned aerial vehicles, small lightweight helicopters that can land in the mountains in the middle of the night. We had to learn to be a lot more proficient with night vision goggles and being able to identify what it is we're going after a lot more sooner than before. And so the mission did change quite a bit, and our training regimen changed as well in order to make sure that we can meet the demand of the current threat. The next question is from Cindy Smith. She asks, what's it like to fly one of those jets? Well, it's like a nice high-speed sports car. The F-15, I started out flying the Cessna 150, and you slowly work your way up. But to be honest, the F-15 was designed to be very easy to fly. And the reason why is because it's so difficult to employ. So working the radar system, working the weapon system, being able to defend yourself and then be offensive at the same time is challenging. So in order to be able to do all those things well and then integrating within an environment with many, many other airplanes, the jet needs to be easy to fly. It's overpowered, it's got way more lift than you need. You can recover from very dangerous situations pretty easily, and its redundant systems are astronomical to where the jet can handle quite a bit of beating before it will truly, truly not be able to recover to an airfield and survive. So flying the airplane, not so challenging. Employing it at the same time, that's where the real challenge exists. Next question is from Mark Lombardi. Do you have maneuvering restrictions due to the main spar and overall airframe stress? Snap rolls, extreme jinking? Thanks, I look forward to touring the base in your answer. So to be honest, since the beginning of the F-15, there are no new invoked restrictions. The Air Force has done a really great job on trying to maintain the aircraft. It's kind of like an iOS Apple update, or an Android update, to where we continue to evolve with technology to make sure that we keep up with the current threats in regards to the airframe and its ability to do what it was designed to do from the beginning. The aircraft goes through a regular maintenance cycle to ensure that there are no cracks, that there are no stresses on the aircraft that will restrict us from doing what we need in order to employ the airplane. From Carol King, how much sleep do the pilots require before taking flight? They have to be so very alert in the cockpit. And that's true. So we do have an Air Force regulatory requirement, and that is 12 hours of crew rest. So at any given time, if you're flying the next day, we are not allowed to show up to the base inside of a 12-hour window. When we're on alert, that's reduced to 8 hours. If for some reason you do get scrambled, one after the other within an 8-hour period, there are waiver requirements and things that allow us to exceed and work exceptions to those policies. But as a general rule of thumb, looking for 12 hours of crew rest in between missions. Question here from Bob Hoover. I worked with an EOD team. Do you still have a team? Yes, EOD is Explosive Ordnance Disposal, and we do have an EOD team. We're one of the only ones here in the Northwest. We are exercised regularly by Oregon State Police, Portland Police Department, and throughout the entire state of Oregon. Our EOD team has a few full-time members and then some drill status guardsmen as well. They go through a rigorous academic program, and they're one of the most elite forces within the local community. Now that we've had a chance to answer some of your questions, we're going to continue on the tour of the 142nd Wing. Now I'd like to introduce you to one of our combat controllers, and he's going to explain a little bit about what exactly do they do.
Thank you, sir, and welcome to the 125th Special Tactics Squadron. We exist active duty under the Air Force Special Operations Command, and as such, we are pretty much the only ground special operations force that the Air Force has. Within that, we exist historically to do landing zone and assault zone establishment and control. We have recently sort of pivoted, so we have combat controllers, pararescue jumpers, and we have a new special reconnaissance career field. With those three together, we're now focusing on three main mission sets. The first one is global access, the second one is precision strike, and the third one is personnel recovery. Global access is all about getting US military power to where it needs to go. So we tend to be the first ones in, our motto is first there, into a new area or behind enemy lines, and we have to get there via whatever means we have available. So that includes free fall jumping, static line parachuting, diving, driving using tactical vehicles, small boats, etc., etc., etc. Once we're there, that's how we get to work. The mission is to establish some sort of landing zone so that primarily airplanes, but we can also do helicopters, can land and either establish an airhead or move on to a specific objective. Our second main mission set is precision strike, and right now that mostly takes the form of some of our guys being JTAC rated, Joint Terminal Attack Control. And so what they do is they direct dropping bombs in close proximity to friendly troops, primarily with partner forces such as Army Special Forces or Navy SEALs. And then the last one is the personnel recovery, and this is where the PJs really shine. And that is essentially what we call combat search and rescue. Historically comes out of being ready to rescue downed aviators, US aviators, but now has expanded to be a lot of essentially any combat search and rescue, usually special operations oriented. With all three of those missions, you will see an integration of all three really, combat controllers, special reconnaissance, and pararescue numbers.
Great. You mentioned a lot of skills that you guys need to stay proficient in. Is that
Absolutely.
challenging?
Absolutely. We, at one point, a couple of us sat down and we said, you know what? We have close to 10 full-time jobs that we are supposed to stay current on at any given time, which means it's a lot of work. In order to do that, the foundation is really, as you mentioned earlier, the human weapons system, and we have to stay in top shape, which is why we have a fairly robust gym here that we're standing in order to keep in shape enough to try to pursue all of these other capabilities and skills that we have to stay current on in order to do our job.
In addition to those federal missions you talked about, do you guys ever support the state of Oregon?
We absolutely do. Using some of those advanced capabilities that we have, including particularly technical rope rescue, and a lot of so our pararescue jumpers are also paramedics. And then we have all of these capabilities, as I mentioned, to sort of get just about anywhere on planet Earth. We can use those in civilian search and rescue. Here in the state of Oregon, we can also use them for disaster response. We have been involved in a couple of Mount Hood rescues now. We have responded to floods in Vernonia a few years back. We, in the national scheme of things, we have responded to numerous hurricanes now, again, bringing all these capabilities to the table. For us, primarily the communications and the ability to get just about anywhere.
Great. It's my understanding that it's pretty competitive to become a combat controller. You know, if there are any teenagers out there watching this video today, what are some of the things that they should be thinking about or preparing for if this is something they want to pursue?
Oh boy, it is very selective. If you want to pursue coming into special tactics, one of the biggest things is physical fitness. You don't have to be an Olympic athlete to come in. but you do need a grounding in physical fitness because it will be very physically demanding. And really the biggest thing I would say is having the right mental attitude, really being focused on this is what I want to do and never sort of letting that slide. At the end of the day, most of us who have made it would tell you it had more to do with wanting it than with being the perfect physical specimen. I will put it that way. Once you get into special tactics, you will again have opportunities to increase your physical capabilities, but as noted, like it's the desire to be here that's really the critical piece.
What are some of the most rewarding things with the job?
This will sound a little bit corny, but the first time I ever controlled an aircraft landing, it was a C-130 landing on a dirt strip, and there was really something exciting about saying, yep, I am the one responsible for this aircraft landing safely, and sure enough, it landed safely out essentially in the middle of nowhere in the dark. Being able to do that kind of thing that is not normal. There have been now numerous exercises where if you just kind of stop and take half a second and realize that it's pitch black outside. We've been operating under NVGs for the last 4 hours. And so I'm used to seeing, I'm seeing everything that's going on around me. We've got dirt bikes that are clearing the runways. We've got C-17s that have just landed and are taxiing in. We've got the Army coming off the back of those C-17s, all this kind of stuff. And you stop for just a second. You go, wait a minute. You flip those nods up, it's pitch black. And it's absolutely crazy to think what we brought into this airfield that in terms of capability, and we did it without a single overt light. And free fall parachuting is pretty fun.
Last question. For a combat controller who's, let's say, been back here for a couple of years, they're a staff sergeant or an E5, what would a typical day, if they're full-time Monday through Friday, be like for them in the peacetime environment?
So in a true peacetime environment, we're always going to be training on some form. And as I mentioned earlier, we have something like 10 roughly full-time jobs that we're supposed to stay current on at any given time. So there are always opportunities to train, whether that's going to the range and shooting, whether that's going out to establish a dirt LZ and practice bringing an aircraft, whether it's going into the simulator to practice your air traffic control, going to the radio shop to practice your radio communication skills, taking the boats out, and we have multiple different boat systems. We have multiple different tactical vehicle systems between dirt bikes, ATVs, side-by-sides, Humvees, or what we have now replaced the Humvee with. There are, just like I said, there are tons of opportunities, and we're pretty much always out there training on something, whether it's as basic as land navigation, simply going out with a compass and a map and practicing getting from point A to point B, or as advanced as, say, free fall parachuting or diving.
Awesome. Well, great. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on this first virtual tour. Please like and monitor our social media, and we'll keep you up to breast on all the local stuff that's going on within our wing and our local airmen. Really appreciate you joining us, and hope it was worth your time. I'm off to fly. Look for us in the air, and we'll see you later.